All right, like a rogue that failed the stealth roll and is caught in the middle of an enemy territory, we are once again exposed and ready to talk. I'm your DM, as always, Garza Pavel, and with me is my co-DM and partner in crime, Chitter Charmer. I don't
Hello.
And you are probably wondering where we've been for the last week. Well, we had some personal stuff to take care of. Uh,
I was swimming across an ocean.
and I was asleep. That's it. That's
Yeah,
literally what I was doing all day last week. Nah.
of course you were asleep.
No.
I tried to ask for help with the life raft, and I just got put on red.
No. I did something worse. When you were calling, I put you on a Paw Patrol, like, stand by, please. Paw Patrol, click.
So that's why I got that kitty tube.
Anyway, point being, we weren't able to meet last week, obviously. Life happens, and we have to accept that. This week, however, we are back, and we're probably going to try to wrap up Obojima today because we were like thinking we just don't have that much left to cover. We only got the potions left and then our final thoughts. So today's episode is going to be relatively short, but I think that's probably going to be for the best because I want to spend this time to just give our final thoughts on the book that I've absolutely fallen in love with. But before we do that, we still got a few more things to go over, and that's to cover the last two groups of potions for the potion brewing mechanic, utilities, and whimsy. Now, we already covered some of the utilities last time with looking at some of the commons. We're going to do the same format that we did last time. We're going to focus on the legendaries in depth because those are the ones that can break campaigns. And for the uncommons, we're just going to pick a couple that we like from each page and just briefly go over them one at a time.
Yeah.
And starting with Jitter, since you weren't here last week, and you probably haven't had a chance to look at these as closely as I have, why don't you go ahead and tell me why don't you go ahead and pick the first one, and then we can go from there. Sound like a plan?
Sounds absolutely amazing.
Wonderful.
So we're looking at the utility ones, correct?
Utility uncommon to be specific.
Sounds great. So there's been a few that have actually captured my attention for the uncommon. There was one that really caught my attention, and it was actually it was actually 38 actually.
38. Pocket stomach. When imbued, your stomach temporarily functions as a bag of holding, allowing you to store any object that you can fit in your mouth inside an extra-dimensional space. The effect of this potion lasts for 1 hour, after which you can throw up anything consumed. Okay, alright, that's... I honestly don't know how that would be effective in the sense that I know you're eating, like, most common items, but my question is how do you eat a sword in that regard?
Well, you get to the point of it.
You were holding on to that one for way too long. I know you too well that was not planned.
Do you want to know what the best part is? I came up with that on the moment.
Oh my god! But you were all right. But no, we've
No matter how you slice it, it's a really great pun.
You get one of those per episode. I hope you realize you already used two. You used up next week's as well. But okay, I think there's no more iconic item in Dungeons and Dragons, obviously, than the legendary bag of holding. Like I think you could make that argument that if you've never played the game, you know of the dragons, you know of the spell like barbarian wizard. You probably would picked up on every once in a while. You know about fireball, and then of course you know at least one magic item, the bag of holding, because that's just in everything. So to have a potion that gives you in temporary bag of holding, I wonder if that's worth all the ingredients used to make it, though.
Actually, I kind of have a couple of thoughts that honestly make it a lot more interesting than first thought.
What do you got?
Well, the first thought that I have is it's for an hour. A lot of stuff can happen within an hour. A lot of DMs have you like say you're about to get caught and about to get put in jail, which for an Obojima campaign or any campaign really is a likely scenario with any party. Let's be entirely fair.
True.
you could just drink this potion, and then as long as it fits within your mouth, you basically have a free asshole to shove items into.
And there's our next subalert, everybody. but,
But
but as you were
but
saying,
but you basically have another jail hole to put things into that is not easily found. Like, I know, haha, funny joke and whatnot, but it's an extra dimensional space. Anyone putting their hand in there would just think they're going down your throat.
well, yes. The problem and this is just probably as a DM, I'm looking at this thing and I'm wondering, okay, what could we potentially put in this bag of holding? Because first of all, you're right. You are allowed to put stuff in there. Obviously, you can't put magical items in there unless you want to turn yourself into a bomb. Which, now that I think about it, I wonder if would have the same effect. Okay, now I'm
Um,
thinking about that for a second. Oh my. Hmm.
See, it allows you to store any object you can fit in your mouth. So basically, even humans can put a lot of stuff in their mouth. Because it doesn't mean that you have to be able to swallow it. You just have to be able to shove it in your mouth.
I'm trying so hard right now not to give into the joke, and I know what you're trying to bait me into so much. But you are right.
Yeah. Yeah, so D&D is specifically a game about needing to specifically mention stuff for it to be relevant. So the fact that it's not mentioning that you have to swallow means that you can just spit and it's totally okay.
So I'll be 100% honest. I'm reading this and I'm wondering, when they say it has to fit in your mouth, do you have to swallow it because it's going into your stomach, or does it just like turn the back of your throat into an interdimensional hole in which nothing can escape? In which case,
And the
does your glug game immediately become a 20?
yeah, you lose your gag reflex.
Oh my god, we could spend a whole 20 minutes just debating this one potion. I'm not lying. Uh, but
This one, because here's the thing. D&D is specifically about, if it's mentioned within the thing, it that is what it specifically does. And the fact that it's not mentioning swallowing, whereas, for example, the belly brewer specifically mentions swallowing into your belly, that leads me down the path as a DM specifically, where as long as you can do chipmunk cheeks with it, you're totally fine.
so that would mean that you couldn't swallow stuff like an axe or a or like a warhammer. It has to be like maybe a short
You
sword or dagger at the most. And maybe if it was like with someone who could do a good sleight of hand, they could probably do a long sword.
as long as you can fit it in your mouth, it's fine.
I'm just now imagining the scenario where they're about to go to jail and the rogue just pours this down the barbarian's throat and like, all right, listen, buddy, you're gonna have to take one for the team. Wait, what was that? Pocket stomach. Now eat this bow. What? Eat it. It will amuse me.
So, here's a quick question then.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that is fascinating to me, because this has been something that I've been thinking about for every potion thus far, and I've never had a real place where I can bring this up. What happens when you're the belly brewer with any of these?
That's actually a good question. So, what happens is that effectively the belly brewer gains the effect to make the potion in their stomach, and they gain the effect of it. So basically, if we go back to the say the potion ingredients menu like this, and they ate
Yeah?
three ingredients, like if they ate like the boomberries, the flash paper, and the rust crab, theoretically speaking, they would get the combat 21 effect by it. Now, they only can do uncommon up to uncommon, but theoretically speaking, they have access to all of the common and uncommon effects, like all the uncommon and uncommon ingredients that we're seeing right here, and they could eat combinations of stuff to gain the effect of the potion. That doesn't count as them drinking a potion though. So there is a world where they could, in fact, ingest all of this stuff and create, like, some of the more broken combos because of that, just how they have that set up. Like, for
So,
example, yeah.
in theory,
Mm-hmm.
they could swallow the ingredients for the pocket stomach, make the pocket stomach, and then drink another potion and put something deep inside of them, knowing that they can gain the potion benefits and hold on to that item because they've only technically drank one potion.
That is true. Though I do think they don't. Though to be perfectly honest, I think. Uh, how do I put this? I would need to reread it, but what I read when I was doing the Belly Brewer is that they only gain one effect per, like, for per potion class, and they have to eat it to make that happen. And then after a certain amount of time, they can ingest another potion. There is a world where they could make the pocket stomach, and then they could potentially also eat more ingredients to go into the pocket stomach, and then regurgitate it after the hour, and then re-eat it to gain new
Yeah,
effect. Now, I think that would have to be up to the DM, though.
yeah. This potion caught my attention because of the possibilities that it has, which is very interesting, but also kind of leaves in the subclass in particular into DM discretion. And there's something about DM discretion that tickles me the right way because if it's basically an IRL persuasion roll. If you manage to do it really well, you can make the DM do anything you want, but if you fuck it up, then you're not doing shit. It's like D&D within D&D.
Well, yeah, and the other thing is that unlike most barbarians where they have to focus on their rages, the belly brewer has to also be an alchemist because they have to know how the combinations work in order to gain their effects. So they're not really they're not really rage mages. I guess the best way to describe them would be um
Punchy artificers?
kind of, because they actually, belly brewers don't really. Okay, let me go back to the belly brewer real quick because I really want to. Now I want to see how that would work. So
Yeah,
here we go.
it
So
just
yeah.
it just kind of leaves me very interested, and there's so many potions in this game where, to be entirely honest, it kind of feels a lot it almost feels a little overwhelming, but it's kind of like a second level of magic items where sure you have the magic items that you're used to, but then there's these. And potions before were just really used for healing or point gain. Now it's like, oh, these potions are consumables, so they would cost half the cost, and that actually has actual meaning this time, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I went ahead and read it, and here is exactly how the belly brewer has the effect happen. And it's actually its sixth level ability, Quick Brew. Choose a common potion that you can normally consume. You can activate the effect of the chosen potion as a bonus action. Once you activate it, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. If the potion's effect requires a saving throw, the DC is equal to 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your constitution modifier. And every time you gain a level, you can swap your chosen potion with the new one. And then at 14, you get 2 common potions and an uncommon potion to pick from. So that's how that's supposed to be set up. And then when
So,
you and then with belly concoction, which is how they start using it, they actually get unique abilities based on how they are able to harness the ability of the combat utility or whimsy abilities.
huh. So yeah, that's fascinating.
And so in a weird way, I think so I would say that the only thing I would change up is that they have to be able to eat the ingredients to get the potion. But it would stay in their stomach. until they swapped it out. Just because I think that would be a little
Yeah,
bit more unique and it fits more with the skill. But
yeah.
other than that,
They need to actually swallow.
well, okay, so in your hypothetical situation, what they would do is, as a bonus action, they would turn their stomach into a bag of holding. Then they could eat everything up. They have an hour, and then they would regurgitate it an hour later. So it is possible if they were at level 14 to do that.
Yeah. So it does take a lot to be able to swallow effectively, but it can be done.
True. And for my potion that I want to go over real quick, I actually want to go over number 43 because first of all, that's just funny looking. And second, it's called Breakfast in a Bottle. The brewer of this
Oh,
potion, yeah.
it's maple syrup.
No. It's not just maple syrup. It's maple syrup that makes its own pancakes.
Awesome. So
So,
it gets thick.
pretty much. So you roll a d4 to determine the number of servings it creates. When poured out, this liquid quickly forms into an appeasing breakfast, such as bread or pancakes. A creature that consumes a serving of it is fully saturated for the whole day, and its exhaustion level is reduced by 1. It takes 1 minute to consume 1 serving, and once a creature benefits from this effect, it can't do so again until it finishes a long rest. The food spoils after 24 hours, losing its magic. There's not a whole lot I want to cover about this, but I do want to cover one line about that. It reduces exhaustion.
That is honestly incredible.
And this is an uncommon, so it's very easy to make. But I do like, also, like I said, I love the bottle because it's just maple syrup that when opened up turns into pancakes. But it's like a more advanced version of the Goodberry spell. Now, I have said multiple times I'm not a fan of how Goodberry is written because I believe it should consume the material component in order to it not be broken, because if it can be used multiple times with just one berry, that's a bit much. However, I like this one because it takes more time, but to reduce exhaustion levels by 1, that means that you could forego an entire long rest and eat
You
this
just
and then
you
be fine.
Yeah, you don't have to sleep, you just have to swallow.
But yeah, other than that, it's pretty basic potion. I just wanted to go over that because I thought it was pretty cool. But that's and there are tons of other cool potions in the utility section. But the commons and uncommons are not the really fun ones. No, that would be the rare potions, because these ones are more broken than the combat ones, if you can believe it.
Well, let's find let me take a look and see which one I like in particular.
Okay,
Oh dear fuck.
which one do you want to go over?
Um I would like to touch on 53, please.
I had a feeling you would. Last resort. Let me read this for the audience. When this potion is down, a crystalline cocoon begins to form around you. The cocoon becomes fully formed at the start of your next turn and can't be connected or is that contracted?
Contact.
Contacted.
Contact.
Okay, I was right. Contacted or interacted with in any way. The cocoon is immune to all damages, and it can't be moved or destroyed by any means short of the wish spell. While in the cocoon, you are in stasis and don't need to eat or breathe. The cocoon lasts between 1 hour and 4 decades. Roll on the table below to determine the measurement of time for the effect from hours to decades. Then roll a d4 to determine the exact amount of time that the cocoon exists.
Okay, I just had a really stupid image come to mind. And it would be okay, okay. Let's be entirely fair with this spell. With this being as rare a spell as it is, as a DM, I would rule that you would need multiple sources of information to fully understand it. So I would be laughing my ass off as a DM if you came across one of these two scenarios. You either found Last Resort and you were like, oh man, this person only had it for only a few hours. And then you roll on it thinking, oh, okay, it's only an hour or two. I can rest and be okay while my party can recuperate, and then you roll a 6. What do you mean I'm in here for a decade?
No. Let me rephrase that. Roll me a d4. I got a 4. You're in there for 4 decades. You're not coming out there for 40 years.
Or the other side of where you're like, okay, I'm in complete and utter danger. My friends need to get away. I will be the sacrifice in a chrysalis. They don't know how long I'll be in there. I will have their undivided attention. 1 hour later, crack, crack. Oh, fuck.
But I do love this. Also, the bottle art for this one is a cicada.
Yep, that makes sense. But yeah, with rare potions, I would rule that to even understand them, you would need multiple rolls as a player.
I,
Because there's no way in hell, unless you're going to like the library or specifically a group that has worked with this potion over a few decades at minimum, would you understand any of these potions to their fullest right away.
you are 100% right. And I think that's a fair assumption to make. I would do one small thing differently, though.
Oh,
You can't brew it without understanding the multiple checks. That much is 100%. But if you find it on a loot table and all you know is what the bottle looks like and you down it, I'm not stopping you. Because at that
see the
point, you should know.
See, the thing is I would make them roll a investigation check on what they found to see if it was more fluffy intro to learn about it or the actual recipe. I would have it be 3 checks. One for the actual recipe. So you could find a rare potion recipe and have no idea what the fuck it does, and 2 checks for the first half of the information, which is more of the flowery stuff, and then a second one for the mechanical stuff.
It,
Because this is good. They straight up say that these are full campaign potions anyway. So you know what? Fucking earn your shit to know what the fuck you're doing.
right. Though I will say in regards to Last Resort, um, I'm gonna be honest with you. I really don't understand why this is. Okay, I get it. I do get it's a fun potion, and believe me, it's really fun in the sense of it being like just a random, like you're basically entering the total safety capsule from Mother 3. So you can't be hurt, you can't be damaged. You're going to be in there for maybe 4 hours to 4 decades. But if you get 4 decades on this thing, your character's not coming back at all.
See, here's the thing. This is a potion where I would actually say that this is actually a potion that's similar to a very, very powerful spell within normal D&D that a lot of people have said is not great for players, but actually is amazing for DMs. And that's Prismatic Wall. This is an amazing DM item where you could potentially have a bad guy lock himself away, and sure, right away it's like that, but it's not permanent. So you could have it be, oh, the campaign is done. And then you go to your next campaign in this, and oh, some time has passed, and some more time has passed. And then maybe onto the next campaign. Maybe you don't bring it back right away. But then crack, crack, crack. What's that sound? And the bad guy that the first party failed to deal with properly comes back, and it's now this new party's problem. Which, need I remind you, is how many Final Fantasy plots?
True. Oh, I had a very funny thought though in regards to how you handled Big Bad Guy on this thing.
Yeah?
Okay, so it says you can't interact with the cocoon in any way whatsoever, right?
Yes.
Okay, so in a theoretical sense, I could I could dig up the ground that the cocoon is on, not interacting with it, mind you, just like the stone, like the part of the castle that it's part of, the lawn, wherever the bad guy is. If he's in a tower, I could take the stone he's part of, move the stone to his ship, throw the ship out into the middle of the ocean, set it on fire, and let it sink to the bottom of the ocean. So, and at that point, in 40 years, he's stuck in he's at the bottom of the ocean, wherever that may be. And if he does come back, then that would be like, and then all the party members would be like, "Wait a minute, how did you come back? We sent you to the bottom of the ocean. I got better, motherfuckers."
I thought you died.
Nope.
See, here's what's interesting. And I would actually team this up with something that could be rather interesting. Because it says that it can't be interacted with, correct?
Yes.
See, it says nothing about being surrounded by. Imagine putting this in a resilient sphere and just giant hamster balling it away.
I mean, that is true. It just says that the cocoon can't be interacted with. It does not say anything about the area around it. So,
Because resilient sphere specifically is a sphere of shimmering force encloses a creature or object of large size or smaller within range.
well, okay.
So you could literally hamster ball this fucker.
There's a lot we could do with this potion. It is a campaign potion for anyone who would want to make it. Now it is a 53, so making it in the brewing section would be a little bit difficult. But I would see this definitely being like something you could. Oh, wait a minute. Could you pour this in someone's tea?
There's nothing technically stopping you from doing so because it just says when the potion is downed, not willingly.
Right. So in that regard, this could be how a campaign starts. The king drinks out from a goblet and is encased in this cocoon, and the wizard goes, "He will be stuck in there for 40 years unless you find a way to revive him." In which case they either got to find out about the wish spell, which, by the way, let's just be fair here. The wish spell is the Control Z of any campaign setting in Dungeons and Dragons. It's like, all right, you fucked up. Here's the wish spell.
Yeah, but also there's something rather interesting about this, and I actually had a really interesting idea with this. This would be the potion where you could theoretically, and I hate that my brain came up with this, is you could technically create an isekai character with this.
True. Or time travel one.
What is it with you and time travel?
I like time travel. What do you want me to say?
I'm not saying it's bad. It's just it's been a major plot point in both your campaigns, and I'm just curious.
Well, first of all, the first campaign was not time travel. That was alternate realities brought on by time travel. Time travel had played a very minor part in that. The second one was more like interdimensional travel resulting in time shifting dilation by traveling to another alternate reality.
So basically what I'm hearing is it's not technically time travel. It's blah, 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 blah. Does it involve moving from one time to another unwillingly? Yes. Then it's time travel.
Okay, I would like to point out that could be described about anything as the days count down, but what's your final thought on Last Resort as a potion?
I see it much like Prismatic Wall. I see it very much in the case of, as a player, the utility for it would be very minimal, if anything at all. But as a campaign starter or ender, it would be absolutely beautiful.
I think that's a good way to view it. I like the potion. It's fun. Though I would say if you are using it for the campaign setting, just set it to decades or years. Decades or years would probably be the best way to set it up. If you're drinking it as a player, do the dice roll, obviously. But if you're using it for a campaign setting, go for year or decade. That would probably be the best way. And for mine, okay.
What did you choose?
I'm gonna go with. So you're gonna. This is probably one that you're probably gonna look at and say why'd you pick this one, but there is a reason for it. I wanted to go with Balrog's Bombastic Beer. But I also wanted to go with Umi's Powerful Undertow. They were both really good. The Undertow is, but because we don't have a whole lot of time, I'm gonna go with the Bombastic Beer because that one is probably the one you're probably gonna go and be like, Garson, why? So for those of
No,
you,
that's 7 re-rolls of anything. I know exactly why you chose that.
I know it's pretty basic. It's a basic potion, but you gotta understand this isn't just like re-rolling anything. It's like giving you 7 points of inspiration in a beer. That's basically what that is. You can't, like, being able to home make inspiration is something that is very hard to have happen. But I guarantee you, I absolutely think it's probably one of the it's probably one of the best utility potions out there.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm seeing this right now and I'm going, let me put this into perspective. One of the most absolutely broken feats of D&D is lucky. And you only get 3.
Per long rest.
True, but that means that you would need over 2 days worth to use the same amount as this every day. So theoretically, you could have it starting off at least more than double the amount of someone using lucky going into a situation. And with this being a rare item, you're not getting this till end campaign. So you're not getting many long rests in between.
Not at all. And be 100% honest, like, I feel like this would probably be one of the more common rare potions in Obojima because it's beer. It's literally like, it was. I love the lore behind this. The potion was discovered by accident by the great brewer Boark. Basically, it was like, oh shit, I made super beer. Well, damn.
Oh shit.
Damn, I'm
Oh
awesome.
shit.
Now,
I'm
yeah.
going to make the BBB.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the reason why it won over Umi Powerful Undertow is because Umi's Powerful Undertow, I read it wrong initially. I thought if you use spells that deal damage to a creature or object, it's supposed to give you two d12s of bludgeoning damage on top of the damage you would be getting. That's how I
But it's
initially
only
read it. Yeah.
it spells that use water, which honestly, and hear me out on this.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the class that you have and also the content that you allow, that can be insanely busted.
It can.
Especially 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 if you combine that with critical role stuff, because there's a spell called Freedom of the Waves, which is basically a gigantic painful teleport spell where you are in a whirlpool free from harm and everything that's trapped in it is getting sucker punched in the dick with water.
That's kind of why I didn't want to talk about it more than Bombastic Beer, because I couldn't for the life of me come up with a lot of water spells that deal damage because in base D&D, and I wasn't familiar with a lot of outside sources that could potentially break this item. But I can't dispute the fact that on top of being able to deal 2 additional d12s of bludgeoning damage, the alternative use of the potion is also pretty good because it can summon 3 water elementals. So I just wanted to briefly talk about that because Bombastic Beer is essentially super lucky. Let's be fair on that one. But these two
Yeah.
are really good for utility potions. I think and this is just like a small sample of what the utility potions can do. But most of the common ones are just giving advantage and additional points to ability checks, and the uncommon ones offer like, the one we were talking about earlier, the like the
Removing
breakfast
exhaustion.
or a breakfast in a bottle or pocket stomach. There are utility things that you normally wouldn't think about, but they are stuff that at the end of the day they could be useful. Now, that being said, however,
If I may, just really quickly before you get to whimsy,
yeah,
utility potions are like utility spells. A lot of metas would ignore them because they're not damage dealing or they're not like super useful right out the bat with mechanical stuff. Let me tell you this. If you're playing a campaign where utility spells are said to be recommended or even just thought of as decent, you're going to need them.
That is true.
Because here's the thing. Some DMs, especially newer DMs, won't put too much focus on this because, again, it's just more things to keep track of. But if your DM is going for the full experience, you're keeping track of your food, you're keeping track of your water, you're keeping track of your arrows, you're running into things that cause exhaustion frequently. Your watches are not going to plan. And those utility spells are going to be the difference between you walking into an encounter and you not leaving that encounter.
There's one last, actually, you know what? Since you brought that up, I know we're gonna move on to the whimsy real quick, but I had to show you the last two utility potions in this category because you're gonna look at these things and think the other ones are not, well, okay. One of them you're gonna think is broken as hell. The second one you're gonna think I can break that with enough planning. I'm just gonna briefly explain what they do. Okay, so for 59 we have Island Nectar. As a bonus action, you regain 100 hit points, and then you can immediately make a melee weapon attack or cast a spell that targets one creature or object, or move up to your speed.
So what I'm hearing with that potion is that is a boss potion.
Yes.
That is a DM potion.
Right. That is the I have consumed the island nectar and I've regained all my hit points. Hacks! We call hacks!
That's called I couldn't find an excuse to put in phase 3, but fuck you anyway. You've been getting too many good rolls.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that this is the ultimate healing potion because it uses a bonus action and then you get another action. Technically, you can only use it to make a melee weapon attack or cast a spell or move, but you're probably going to do that anyway with your action. So
that's just you. So you get a free haste
and a free 100 hit point regain.
Yeah. Now here's where I'm going to probably blow your mind. 60 Elixir of Omni-Mind. I'm actually not that impressed by.
Really?
And here's the thing. I don't find it as impressive because I'm also judging this, as I said, in conjunction with stuff with Critical Role and other third-party stuff, but mainly Critical Role because it's one I'm familiar with. Here's the thing. In a class that got posted to D&D Beyond, so again, this is confirmed to be okay by basically the DDB team and Wizards of the Coast by extension. There is a class called what are the cleric ones called again? Domains. The Moon Domain. And basically, for their 6th level feature, they get almost exactly this potion. They get the ability to focus on 2 concentration spells, the only difference being that because it is a permanent class effect, is if you're making a concentration saving throw, you have to make it with disadvantage instead of separate saving throws for each spell. And if the disadvantage roll fails, you lose both of them.
You know what? Actually, saying that, Omni-Mind is kind of weak, actually, because also it only lasts for 1 minute. That's about, what, 10 turns?
Yeah. And as I said, this is not only like a Critical Role homebrew like the original Blood Hunter was, but this was actually approved and deemed valid for the DDB team. And I know that they have some quirks and whatnot, but especially with the power creep these days, that's a level 6 ability.
And not worth brewing, like, you would have to get, like, 3 items that had 20 utility each to even have a chance at this. Or you would have to find, like, an item that, because, like, yeah,
And
wow.
sure, and again, I'm not saying this to be down on Obojima. because surely they weren't looking at Critical Role stuff and going, how can we match and or exceed it? But all I'm saying is that Obojima is not in a vacuum in terms
Right.
of third party content. On its own, if you were doing just Obojima stuff, this potion is absolutely where it deserves to be. It absolutely nails what it's trying to be for a just Obojima world, and that's all this book has to go on. So I'm not upset by its placement at all. I'm just saying when you take it outside of an Obojima only world, because players are going to if players are looking at the Obojima stuff, they've obviously looked at the Critical Role stuff.
Or third party stuff in general. It doesn't, I mean, I would say, like, you could, like, if you were to just take the brewing aspect out of Obojima, you could easily implement it in any other play setting and campaign book. And you would have to, and you could even copy a lot of the potions, probably just need to rename them. But I could see that
And
being the case. And then I don't think OmniMinds is broken by then if you do that.
yeah, because again, if you come into this, if you get permission for Critical Role stuff, which again, unless the DM is like Obojima only, good luck finding a DM that wouldn't allow you to have Critical Role stuff that's on D&D Beyond, like by default.
To be
Like,
honest, yeah, to be honest, I think Island Nectar is probably the more powerful of these two. I can't
yeah,
dispute that.
yeah. And if you're going into it like that, and again, here's the thing. Here's the thing that that I'm now just remembering. Obojima is also on D&D Beyond.
Hmm.
So the thing is even if the DM is going only D&D Beyond only content, it's still getting outmatched by a level 6 ability that you can get.
So I think at the end of the day, the utility potions have proven that they are useful and they are utility and they have a lot of good uses. Even the rare stuff is pretty damn powerful, and not everything's going to fit, but I think that's probably the best way to describe it is that there's a lot of good stuff here, and I
Yeah.
think and you can, but you are right. You can't look at it just only in a vacuum sometimes. If it was just a vacuum, Elixir of the Omnimind would probably be perfect for this, but you are right.
Yeah.
If you are including other stuff on D&D Beyond, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want to include multiple stuff in your campaign. But that's me.
Yeah. And the thing is, and this is just from my perspective, is I also do want to play a little bit of devil's advocate to my own point.
Mm-hmm.
Is that is specifically for one subclass. This is a cleric of the moon for free. So again, I don't want to go into it saying that it's bad. In fact, it's not even underwhelming. It's just not as OP as you would initially think of it being in the rare category.
Oh, exactly. That's why I was saying, like, the one I thought was overpowered was Island Nectar, because to just get that free 100 hit points and then you can still do something on your turn, that's broken. Because you are losing nothing in the action economy to get a free heal. It's like a full restore that lets you do an additional attack. Because you can still
Yeah.
actually attack and then take this and then attack again.
Yeah. And the thing is that also with that with that level 6 ability in comparison,
Mm-hmm.
this is actually kind of a side grade, if you will. Because if you're forced to make a constitution saving throw to maintain your concentration, the cleric one is you have to roll with disadvantage and take the lower number. And if you fail on that lower number, you lose both spells. This one is you have to make a separate roll for each of them, but if you fail either one, you lose that spell in particular. So again, it's kind of a give or take because if you're going for two spells in concentration, you have an idea of what combos you're wanting to make with that. You're not going out of your way to get this like a common potion. This is something where you've thought about combos to make this work.
Exactly. Now, we've looked at combat, we looked at utility. Now we're going to look at the potions that, honestly, the commons and uncommons just aren't worth looking over because these are the joke potions. These are the whimsy potions. And Chitter, I don't know if you looked at it, but I'm going to just read you, like, one potion. You can see why we don't really need to go over the common or uncommon one, because they're kind of not going to be really useful other than choky stuff. So, for example,
Oh
projected.
my, oh my god, I've seen these. Oh my god, what the hell?
Exactly. So the one I want to just briefly mention is projected thought. When you drink this gritty potion, a 1 foot diameter bubble emerges from the top of your head. The bubble lasts for 1 hour and moves with you, remaining centered on you. Until the effect ends, you can choose to project your thoughts onto the bubble, where they manifest as illusionary but silent words or images, your choice, which anyone can see.
Oh my
I don't really think we should. Essence of Unami. Oh my god. See, these are meant to be jokes. They're joke potions. But the ones I do want to talk about are the rare ones, because those ones somehow I think are more broken than any of the other common or uncommon ones. So, for example, let's just go down to the rare ones. And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What is 51?
homegrown. When poured over a surface that has at least 50 square foot area and isn't obstructed by obstacles, after a pungent liquid begins to quickly form and expand, and after 1 minute you make a house.
Okay, can I just say this?
Yeah,
As someone who lives in 2025, where can I get that?
I know. It's a grand size house. So we're talking about, like, you could pour this on the ground and make a palace.
I need that.
Exactly. Okay. And then let's take a look at let's just go over all the rare ones, because they have some weird, wacky effects. Obviously, by the way, homegrown looks like this thing. It looks like a bong.
Fair enough.
All right, but
A
number
new life is interesting.
yes. So new life. The brewer of this potion chooses the likeness of a humanoid. So it doesn't have to be human. It just has to be humanoid that they are familiar with. When embedded, you take on the illusionary form of the chosen creature. This illusion disguise is perfect in every way and matches both the creature's visage and its voice. Only creatures with the ability to detect magic or see through illusions, like with True Sight, can discern that this is a disguise. The effect of this potion lasts for 7 years or until removed, as if it were a curse. This doesn't count as the number of potions you can have affecting your body at once.
Okay, can I just say this right now?
Yeah?
We were treating it as silly. That's a terrifying spell. That's a
Oh, yeah.
terrifying because let me put it to you this way. That's a campaign starter. Because imagine this. Imagine you live with this person and they disappeared for a couple days about 7 years ago. You wouldn't think much of them like disappearing for a weekend, especially if they were like, "Hey, I kind of had some things to take care of on the other side of the island." You wouldn't think anything of that. And then imagine on that day 7 years later, you wake up and you realize that the person who loved you, the person who raised you, the person who you called a family member for years wasn't who you thought they were. They were either dead or missing, with just the remnants of the original
Hold on to
disguise
that.
there.
Hold on to that, because you've not read number 52 then.
Oh boy.
Mind transfer. When embedded, the elixir loosens your soul from your body and prepares it for transfer. The first time you are touched by a creature after consuming this potion, your mind and soul transfer into that creature's body. While inhabiting the creature's body, you can force it to make a contested intelligence or wisdom check at the start of each of its turns. If you succeed, you gain total control over the creature until the start of its next turn. While your mind and soul are away, your body is left unconscious. If the creature dies while your mind and soul are still inside, you also die. You inhabit the creature's body for 1 hour until you dismiss the effect of an action, or until the creature is targeted by Dispel Good and Evil.
Oh boy, these spells are terrifying.
Oh, it gets much, much worse.
Let's keep going then.
Newly found magic. When consumed, you feel a rush of magical inspiration flow through you. You instantly learn a random 3rd level spell. Thank God! because I have said before, third level is the sweet spot for magic. You can cast it without expending a spell slot, and once you do so, you can't cast this way again until you finish a long rest. This is a permanent effect.
Sweet fucking shit. Okay, so basically what I'm hearing is that a wizard campaign could be you trying to find like a stash of these. Because if you drank like 10 of them, you'd gain 10 third level spells for free.
And it's permanent. They don't. This does not count towards the potions you can have affecting you at once. So it will never mean you can't ingest more of these things.
Also, did you notice something else?
What's that?
It's not. It's random. It's not tied to your class list.
I know. I know. All you have to do basically is that if someone were to drink 5 of these, have them roll like a D100 or how many spells are of third level, and then just go, you suddenly learned Necrotic Grasp, you suddenly learned Fireball, you learned Polymorph, you learned, what else? Dimension Door, Blink, Blur.
Yeah.
Just random
like,
shit.
Yeah. Like, fucking hell.
Alright, spiritual rebuke. When poured, the dark elixir stains the earth and creates a 10-foot cube that is a void of the island's magic, as if it were under effect of the anti-magic field. This effect lasts for 1 year.
So that's a beholder in a bottle.
Pretty much. Upsa-daisy. When poured over a creature or object, this creamy elixir instantly awakens the target as if by the awaken spell. The awakened creature remains charmed by you for 1 year instead of 30 days.
Oh, that could be interesting. Because think about it. The awakens, that's a charm. But it's a temporary charm. So again, as the awaken spell says, depending on how you treat it, it could either tell you to fuck off or it could love you. So here's the thing. 30 days is a decent time, but a year, that reveals the true personality.
Well, yeah, but you want to know what I love about that idea?
What?
Alright, I know Awaken only works on living creatures that have intelligence of like 3 or less, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Okay, what if I put it on a churro?
Oh, god damn it.
But think about it for a second there. It's like, hey, Garcia, can you bring my churro to life? On it! On the churro! And then for a year, you're stuck with a living churro. Just like that.
You know what? I may just make you have that as payback for Cody.
I will never regret making Cody the Codex. Anyway.
Also, can I tell you something that's gonna terrify the shit out of you?
What's that?
A T-Rex only has an intelligence of 2, so you could awaken a T-Rex with that.
I've gained sentience. Father, I crave bloodlust. Okay.
Father, I crave meat.
Okay, there's 2 more I want to mention because these ones are fucking terrifying.
Oh no.
Okay, imagine this one under hydrangea. Chicken Chaser. When you drink this potion, your hair turns dark red, if you have any. You gain the ability to speak with chickens permanently, as if by speak with animals. Additionally, you can cow a sacred and thunderous cackle that summons 100 chickens in a 20-foot radius centered on you. The chickens appear running from a distance, digging out from the ground below, falling from the sky in a veritable tsunami of flapping, clucking poultry. Each creature in the area, excluding you, must make a DC 19 saving throw or take 30 D6 slashing damage on a failed save, half as much on a successful one. Once you summon the chicken this way, you can't do this again. This doesn't count against the number of potions you can have affecting your body at once.
So what I'm hearing is, that's Legend of Zelda, the potion.
Yes, that is 100% the chicken effect from Legend of Zelda. I cast Summon Chickens! Wait, what?
No. You know what the spell would be? It wouldn't even be Summon Chickens. It would just be, I cast Chicken!
Okay.
What?
Wait, what's that? Dun, 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 dun. But 30 D6 slashing damage on a joke item.
You realize that if our party were to roll that, It would either be max damage or 30.
True. Or half is no, actually it wouldn't be 30. It's 30d6. So you would have to roll 30d6s of damage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They all turn
Oh
into
right, I
one.
forgot. Oh right. Oh, sorry. My brain is
You
fried.
you
Okay.
forgot one exists on a die, didn't you?
A little bit, but I was more concerned by the fact that there's 30 of it, so the odds of that happening would probably be astronomically low. Okay,
Okay, have you seen what our party is capable of doing both good and bad?
true. Okay, and then the last potion I want to talk about is Disappearing Act. When consumed, your body vanishes along with all the items you were wearing or carrying, and your sentience is transferred to a random object within 100 miles of you. That's it.
Does it not wear off?
Nope. You're trapped in something. You could be trapped in a spoon. Just saying.
God damn.
Like, imagine this. Imagine that you have spent hours brewing this potion. It's a magical potion, and then you leave it out one day, and the rogue drinks it, and he goes, "No!" Just suddenly disappears, and then 100 miles away, like not even randomly, the sentience of that rogue is now trapped in a toilet.
Damn, that's crappy.
No, the worst part is it's your sentience. You know you're in that toilet, but you have no control over the toilet.
God damn it. I love that.
I know.
Uh all right. So,
I don't think
I
we're gonna top
guess
that one. So I think we're probably done with the potions. But you get what I'm saying.
yeah. And I guess now we're on to our final thoughts, and I do want to say this.
Mm-hmm.
All of that we've talked about has not shaken the idea in me that this is a dystopian world in the making. Because don't get me wrong, it's all been fun and whimsical and silly, but there's this overlying feeling of something is going wrong, and either you're too oblivious or you don't know how to stop it.
So here's my view on this, and I think this is probably a good way to view it for your post-apocalyptic view.
Yeah.
There was a set of Magic the Gathering called Scars of Mirrodin. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, it was a brand new set that came out, returning to one of Magic the Gathering's most famous and fun sets, Mirrodin. The first set was Scars of Mirrodin, where it didn't really set up what was going to happen. Well, it did. It was like little hints of stuff that was happening on the plane, like the start of the infection. The Phyrexian oil was popping up in some places, but it wasn't on a lot of cards. The next set, Mirrodin Besieged, started the effect that it looked like it was going to be the Phyrexians were coming back, and it was turning into more Phyrexians and less Mirrodins. And then the last one was New Phyrexia, which was they had lost. The planet had fallen to darkness and corruption. I think that's what they're going for with this, where this feels like this is the setup to something. And then the second book in the series would probably go with where more of the conflict is happening, and then the final book would probably be where we see the conclusion to the story and see what changes have happened to the world itself. Because you can't really.
Yeah, cuz Yeah, because if I may, I said this back when we did this the first time. And this was when everyone kind of took a look at it. Is that this feels they can't sit on their ass for 3 books. They they they've introduced the world, and again, I'm not going to say that they've sat on their ass with this book because they haven't. They've introduced a world. That takes time to introduce a world. You need to introduce the beginning acts of what you're fighting, what you came from, what you're fighting to remember, what you're fighting to get back, what you're fighting to restore. That no matter how the book goes, you needed to do that. But you can't sit on your ass for 2 more books going, look at this fancy thing. Look at this fancy thing. You have to do something with this. And the fact that they're saying explicitly at the end of the campaign stuff where they explicitly say that A, the corruption cannot be gotten rid of, and B, it does not come from any one singular person or thing, means that they're setting up something.
And I think that's probably what's going on, is that this book is sent to set the stage, and down the road, if they ever release more books, it's probably going to do with the corruption. But we won't know that for a while because the book is just come out as of this month in hardcover form. And what that
Yeah.
means is that they're probably this is probably going to be what we're going to hear the majority of Obojima for a while. I would be shocked if we heard anything more within a year time frame. I would be even shocked if we saw anything within a 2 year time frame. Now, if the book does
Yeah.
well enough, I think we could probably see something more.
Yeah. If I may, and this is something that has really been sitting with me. This is an absolutely amazing book for this is what I hoped Strixhaven was. This is what I hoped the Wild Space was. Like a lot of info to go off of to make our own stuff. However, Obojima, especially because they're saying it's not connected to anything and it's like its own separate world space separate from everything, it really needs that second book to get an adventure going because it has a lot of starting place, but I'm really looking forward to when they actually do stuff with it, if that makes sense.
Well, they do have
Because
some adventures already in the book, but we don't want to spoil that because that's stuff you should
yeah,
probably experience firsthand for yourself. And there's other stuff that I
and
think we should. We're not meant to spoil all the content because if we did, you wouldn't buy it. We're simply giving our opinions on this and how we think you should consider supporting this book. And I think after everything we've shown, we've done that.
yeah, it's very much a starting point, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the world because that will ultimately determine its legacy. This is an amazing starting point, but we need more.
Right. And at almost 400 pages, there is a lot we did not cover. So I'm excited to see what else will pop up. And I think down the road there will be a lot of stuff that if this book does become popular, I could definitely see there being more in this world. I've actually, if you want my honest opinion, what I want to know is what kind of campaign books would they make for a game like this? Like when I say that, I'm talking about like stuff like Curse of Strahd, The Yawning Portal, Waterdeep Heist, stuff like that, where it's like self-contained campaigns in this world, because
Yeah.
there is a lot here, and they've hinted at it a little bit.
Yeah. And the reason why I'm interested in seeing what they do with campaigns so much, and I brought this up a little bit just a couple minutes ago, is the fact that they specifically went out of their way to say that this is a disconnected world. They specifically went out of their way to mention that it's not connected to anything else. So they again, even though we can bring over elements of this, they've gone out of their way to say that canonically Obojima is not connected to the multiverse. And with that being the case, I need more campaign stuff as a DM specifically to feel whether or not that's a good call.
I think that's the best way to describe it. So, what are your final thoughts on the, let's say, the 5 weeks we put into reviewing this book? What do you think are your final thoughts just based on what's in this singular book at this time?
I think it's incomplete. I love what they're doing. I love all the aspects about it, but it kind of feels like the exact opposite of Strixhaven, where they put all this detail into making this world, but they put such strict restrictions on it that didn't they needed to give you an actual adventure to give you a feel for how they want the world to be. They clearly have an idea for how this world is meant to be, and we haven't seen it fully. Strixhaven was the opposite, where they gave you an adventure, but they didn't give you the world around it, despite it being a very linear adventure. So they didn't give you the world to feel how the adventure was supposed to be. This gives you the world, but we don't know how it's supposed to feel, in particular, because the adventure's missing the whole overall adventure.
My take on it is this. I originally got this book for the artwork, for the setting, for the new classes, and for all the stuff that we covered. I have been very satisfied with my purchase. But I do agree with you on the fact that it doesn't feel like outside of the small handful of module campaigns that they have included, that there's a lot here that feels like it's ready to go into the prime time yet. This feels like a great start, as you said, but I agree that there is more that can be done. But the thing is, even if there is more that can be done, the book has offered a world that is very rich. You cannot argue that this book did not paint a very pretty picture of what Obojima is, and it's up to the
Oh no.
play yeah, and it's up to the players to populate it with its own story. And I hope that a lot of people realize that before they buy this book. If you're looking for a quick campaign to run with friends, this is not for you. But if you're a DM who wants to build a world and a story that can last multiple campaign sessions, I think you can make this work.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it is a bad book or a bad world. I'm just saying with the limitations they've put on themselves, they need to give us more of what they expect the world to be beyond just the starting points. They need to show us what kind of adventures they expect to happen, because that will ultimately dictate the tone of the world.
I think we'll have to wait on that one. But I think that's a good way to wrap up our talk about Obojima. We've had a lot of fun on this book. I had a lot of fun talking and sharing it with Chitter. And I think
Aside from the origami wizard,
we
please fix
don't
that.
talk about that. Yeah, you know what? Here's another thing. If you did Origami Wizard, I would literally be like, fine, here you go. Here's 5 bottles of the brand new magic find a magic potion. You will drink this right now, or you are not playing that class. What? Why? Because you know what? I don't know. Like at this point, I'm like, I have to give you something. Maybe casting Fireball for free will make this a little bit more powerful. But I will say this. I want to see where this company goes. I want to see where this setting goes. I want more. I think that's the best way to describe it. I want more, and I hope we get more.
Yeah, this feels the best way to describe this in terms of a like an animation, a TV show, is that the storyboards look great. Now, the concept art, fantastic. Now tell me the story.
Right.
How are you how are because the world is beautiful. The characters are set. Do something.
Well, I think that's so. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. So starting next week, Chitter and I were talking about this, and we think hopefully next week we can start this project, but we don't really have a book to talk about for 5 weeks like we normally do. So next week we're gonna start something new. We're gonna discuss how to make a campaign. We're not gonna focus it on a specific world. We're gonna go over just like settings, world building, class character customizations, and
Tools you can use.
tools you can use, and even offer some great sites that offer you like a way to make it for that help cut down on the prep time. That's what we're going to be talking about next, and then hopefully after that, I'm really hoping that Crooked Moon gets released because I really want to talk about that book when it comes out, or maybe it's
Crooked Moon. Is that the Dungeons of Drakenheim series?
no, Crooked Moon. It's that Legends of Advantis book that they released where it was set like around Halloween.
Okay, okay. Sorry, I got the two. I keep getting those two settings stuck in my head because Dungeons of Drakenheim is fascinating to me.
Well, maybe we'll cover that one after the campaign one. I would love to take a look at some. Maybe next time we should do a book you recommend. We've done two of mine. No, wait, we did one of mine and we did one of yours because you recommended
Yeah.
Kinks and Cantrips and I recommended this one. So I think the ball's back in your court now to recommend the next book after this next series of videos.
All right, sounds good. If I may make, if I'm just going to say this right now,
Mm-hmm.
I have hinted at this for Kinks and Cantrips. I have hinted at this throughout Obojima. After the campaign talk, we're going to be visiting a world well known, the land of Taldore.
All right, and that's from Critical Role, right?
Yes,
All right,
we're
so
gonna we're gonna be touching up on Taldore Campaign Setting Reborn. That's the new book that just came out, I believe either last year or the year before, and it is a 400-page monstrosity about the world of Exandria.
all right. Well, I think we got our next series of videos planned. All right, folks. That's the end of our session. I'm once again calling it here. We'll be back next week to talk about more stuff related to our favorite Dungeons and Dices. Shader, thank you so much for joining me. I know you have been busy, so I really appreciate you making time today. Thank you so much for being once again here.
It's no problem at all. I'm happy to talk D&D stuff. It helps keep my mind sharp in my old age.
Shader, you're younger than me.
Yeah, Grandpa, come on.
Oh my god. All right. Well, whatever. We're going to end the video here. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and we will see you all next week. Take care, everybody.
See ya.